Hi, everyone. We are in special treat for today because we have Becca. And I'm so excited because Becca is a bestie that I knew way back then. And now she has so many books. So we're going to learn all about it, her secret formula, how she helps other authors, all the courses she teaches, and then secret questions that we might ask just randomly. Becca. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa, best-selling co-author of the romance series Snow and Her Seven Seals, and on this channel I talk about writing advice, I talk about books, and I also talk about TV. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I post new videos every Monday. Tell us more about, well, I guess first I should just say, tell us more about you, Becca and RL Syme, and what's going on.
So I am, and just so everybody knows, like, Lisa lives in my absolute favorite place of all time, which is, I won't say it out loud in case nobody knows where you live, but okay, San Diego. I adore it. I live in the second favorite place because I will admit I don't super love winter, but I love where I live. I live in Montana and Bozeman in the mountains, and I am probably, I would say like half-time now teaching and half-time writing. I used to be full-time writing, and I pulled back a little bit because the teaching has gotten to be in demand, which is awesome, and I'm psyched about. And I'm got to keep writing the books that I really super love, and then also am teaching courses now for productivity and author systems and stuff like that. So I'm pretty psyched about that. And then I write, as you can see behind my head, which we were just talking about, I write cozy mysteries now, pretty much primarily town romance and romantic suspense and a lot of stuff. But now I pretty much just write those behind me. So, yeah.
Cool. So tell us more about that. So tell us more about Smart Marketing for Authors. And that's your joint site with your mom, right? And
Yep.
what services you provide?
Yep. My mom is a marketer from way back. Like, she's been marketing for 20 years. And as we started getting more and more into indie publishing, because she's always worked with me, I started realizing like there's kind of a need for more people who know about marketing and who aren't just authors who have had success with a particular thing that they've happened to luck into, but actually people who know marketing. And so she was like helping me with my own stuff. And so we kind of do a podcast instead of classes and stuff that's like me talking about authordom as an author and her talking about marketingdom as a marketer. And so we kind of cover both of those sides. So we do the Smarty Pants book marketing podcast, which is a lot of fun. And then I teach my own classes on productivity systems and sort of the, if you're stuck, what do you do? Like, if I can't get what I want, what do I do? And then my mom teaches marketing classes also through her cksyme.com. So yeah.
Great. So a lot of courses. Are you doing individual one-on-one services?
I do. I don't advertise those always. I probably will at some point once I get a better system for myself of how to block time off, because I'm still trying to write close to full time. So I don't do that a ton, but I do, as part of the classes, offer one-on-ones because I have a background in coaching. Like, that's what I did before, all this author stuff kind of came to be for me. And so I was like, I've got to teach because I like the teaching process, but then there's so much about a class that you just can't apply unless you get right in with people where they're at, and everybody's so different. And so I found that I was wanting to offer one-on-ones a lot as part of the courses, and now pretty much every class I teach, I do some form of a one-on-one consultation with people during the class.
Cool. And so I'm a YouTuber and you're a podcaster.
Yep.
So tell me how you decided to choose that platform.
I don't love watching myself on television.
Okay, fair enough.
And honestly, my mom has a radio background, and that's the biggest reason why we did it, probably more so than that I dislike having to watch myself on video, because I get like, I talk with my hands and crap like that. And on the podcast, you can't see me doing any of this junk, which is better if you're a broadcaster, right? You know not to do that. But my mom has a radio background. And so I think we chose podcasting because she just really has a good feel. And if you ever listen to the podcast, you'll be able to tell. She's one of those people that's just like, and this is the, she sounds like a commercial, like a radio broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why we picked that. But I love YouTube. I mean, I love it.
Cool.
I'm super happy to be here because I love what you do and your channel. So like, I'm psyched about that.
Awesome. All right, that explains it. So why don't you tell us more about your two names? So you have RL Syme and you have Becca Boyd. And what's the difference in the heat levels and why?
So the main reason, and this is one of those don't do what I did conversations, right? Like, because I feel like this was a big mistake that I made actually. Because I think the question you ask is the right one to ask. If there's a major heat level difference that will keep audiences away from a particular book that you've written, then pen names are awesome. They're great. I chose a pen name in about 2015 because someone had told me, someone who works for a coder had talked to me about algorithms and about the way that Amazon searchability was happening at the time. And I was like, so essentially, if I'm writing historicals as R.L. Syme, because that's what I was doing at the time, and then contemporaries, then I'm screwing up my algorithm. And he was like, yeah, you're really doing that. So I decided to, even though they were both sweet, they were both, like they were really both for the same audience. They just happened to be in different genres. And I chose a pen name, and I think that was a mistake. I don't think I would do it again if I had to go back, because everything I write, either R.L. Syme or Becca Boyd, is sweet. There is no, it's all either closed door or there's no sex in the books. Because of course, like I write mostly cozy mysteries now. But even the romances that I wrote were all sweet. So I kind of wish I hadn't done that, but it's like live and learn.
Right. Are you going to combine them back together at some point?
Yeah. Okay. And we're right in the middle of that right now. So like I just recently pulled all of my Becca Boyd books down. And then we're going to relaunch everything with the R.L. Syme branding and redo the website and all that stuff. Because I do feel like it was enough of a mistake that I want to correct it, because I'm not Becca Boyd anywhere. Like I'm R.L. Syme everywhere, and the audiences are the same. So yeah, we're gonna fix that problem.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that's my next question. Why do a combo site instead of two sites?
Yeah, because it's really for the same people. And I was finding, I think, the more that I wrote in those sweet genres, that people who would like one set of books would go back and read my historicals. So it's a little bit different, I think, with sweet audiences where they really don't want to read sex. They're pretty willing to read a larger breadth of different time periods and stuff. It's just that they don't want to have to read graphic sex, which is fine with me. I mean, I don't care. I read everything. So, it's awesome. I think whatever people do is great. But I found that people were reading both. And so I'm like, well, let's not waste the time of having two different sites or three different sites or whatever. Let's just have them both together. And I was also publicly both people. So if I had, and I have a pen name that nobody knows about, secret that no one knows, right? And it has its own website. And that's not connected to Becca Boyd anywhere, but it is definitely, they were all the same people.
Got it. So for our readers, we're saying if you have different heat levels, totally makes sense, but otherwise just save yourself the trouble.
Yep. I would absolutely do it if I was like, even to a certain extent, erotic and then like YA, or erotic and maybe not sweet romance, but kind of almost on the borderline where there is some sex, just because you've got to think about like, what will my readers be looking for? Not what will they tolerate, but like, what do they want? And so for me, but I also know people who write both erotic and sweet under one name. I think for me, it was a comfort level thing. Like I had a separate pen name that people don't know about because I don't feel super comfortable being everybody all the time. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess when we talk about your secret name and your other RL Syme, how does that translate to social media? Are you doing double duty?
No, I don't. I'm not on social media as my other pen name at all. Like I don't. And it's not, I mean, I think I probably used to be, but it's just not worth it for me, the time. I feel like,
Mhm.
social media marketing is a personality thing for me. It's not for everybody. Like some people do it regardless of whether they're, themselves or not. But I feel like if I can't be myself, on a particular social media site, then it would feel really inauthentic to me. And a big piece of my social media branding is my community. So like if you're whether you're in my classes or that you read my books, like I have a group, like a fan group on Facebook that I am in all the time and talk to, and we're very communal. And I wouldn't feel like I could do that authentically as somebody else. So yeah, I don't do any social media really as her.
Okay, cool. So same thing goes with email lists. You don't have a separate email list for that secret name?
I do.
Oh, you do.
And that's all organic from the backs of books. So like I
Hmm.
don't do any list building or anything for that. And those books kind of sell themselves in a way, like they're just because the audience, it grew out of a co-writing venture with a friend of mine. And so the audience is kind of there, and those are the books that they want. And we really only write books in the world that we started writing in. And so I'm not actively trying to grow that name in the sense that like I'm not out there buying ads and doing some of those
Hmm.
things. And so it's very much if they read the end of the book and they like it, they sign up for the newsletter. And then once a month, right around there, we send out a newsletter for all those people. And that's kind of more where I engage with them is in the
Hmm.
newsletter.
So today, are you writing 100% cozies or 90% cozies, 10% secret stuff?
That's a great question. Today, it's probably 50-50 because I'm right in the middle of a book for each one.
Mhm.
I would say overall, the whole year, it's probably like 75% cozy. Like I try to put out 3 cozy books a year, and the other books are shorter. So, like word count wise, it's probably the equivalent of one, maybe, of the cozies.
Okay, cool. And why cozies? Because I thought when we first met, and this is so long ago, right? Like 5 or 6 years ago,
Yeah,
I totally saw you as writing like YA steampunk somehow
yeah,
in the future. And then I
yeah.
saw these cozies.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the cozy choice, the genre choice was about the character. Like it was
Hmm.
and that's probably also was true for Cambry when I was writing YA when we met. Um, but to me, Vangie was a person who like lived in my head for a little bit. And then it was like, well, what does Vangie do? Well, Vangie solves crime. And so I'm like, oh, and I'd read Nancy Drew a lot. And actually, I
Hmm.
had been working on a YA mystery series. And so I'm like, okay, Vangie is a crime solver, and she's like a part-time pastor and a part-time baker, and then she solves crime sort of on accident, like most cozy sleuths.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just write a cozy series. And so, like I said, I had read a lot of mysteries both as a kid and then as an adult, and so I'm like learning how to do it, and that was fun. But because everything's so character driven for me, I think it was her.
Cool. All right, so let's talk more about Vangie Vale. So
Yeah.
is she have a romance interest or interest in what does she really like baking?
Okay, so this is maybe the funniest question that you could possibly ask me, because when I tell my fan group about this interview and that I answered this question, they're probably going to like flood everything because so Vangie, of course, has sort of a love triangle, like a little bit of a love
Mhm.
triangle. And the guy that she is with currently in the book, which is book 4, is not the guy that I think my fan group wants her to end up with. And so I cannot tell you the meme wars that happen in my fan group, which is so great. I love because I also love the guy that they love too, right? And but man, they're like his name is Malcolm, and he's a
Mhm.
sheriff. And I mean, we will have like meme wars about like sheriff posts. Like people will drop sheriff posts, and every once in a while I'll be like, come on now. I mean, really, come on. And I'm just like, I just do what she does. Like, I don't know. So She does have a love interest. She has a boyfriend currently. His name is Derek. And, but he is not the person that my fan group wants her to end up with. So that's a little bit of a controversy. So I'll try not to say anything that'll give anything away in that, because I think I'll get roasted if I do. But yeah, that's love. I mean, love triangles, man. They are just the best thing ever.
Is this like Vampire Diaries where they're both like super hot and desirable?
Yes.
So they're both good choices.
I know. And Derek is like the bad guy. I mean, he's like the Brock O'Hearn type, right? Like he's the super smoky, like, you know, bad guy type. And then Malcolm is this like straight laced, very, he's a sheriff and he's very upright and etc. And I totally read that wrong. I completely thought the fans would go for Derek. And apparently they're all just like not bad boy people. And I'm like, what happened here? So yeah, that was a mistake on my part. But again, like it was what Vangie wanted. So I had to do what she wanted. But
right.
Yeah.
So wait, so I think I was getting confused because it was called Matchbaker. So if you read it really fast, I was like, oh, it's a matchmaker series.
Right?
And I was like, no, it's not a matchmaker. It's a baker.
Baker. So that's sort of an interesting concept from, if you haven't read the books yet, Vangie is a very quick thinking, like kind of like the person who looks at you and sizes you up and decides who you are from like all the like almost Sherlocky, I guess, a little bit. So she, because she has this ability, her sister convinced her to open a bakery where she kind of took advantage of that, like a circus act, like a sideshow. And so she matches up people, and she has like a super wide array of baked goods that she carries in her bakery. And then if you ask her to, if you walk up to the counter and say, what should I eat today? She will tell you what you should eat based on based on things she notices about you. And so and I won't give anything away in case anybody reads it, but like in the first book, you know, the fact that she matches somebody to a macaron is like a big deal, because then that person ends up part of the mystery. And that happens subsequently. Like the person who is the custard is part of the mystery, and the person who is the strudel and the lava cake and the donut, or they're all part of the mystery. So
very clever. So yeah, it's like fun. The Love Boat meets The Good Witch. You know how she always comes in the store and she just knows what to give people?
Yes. Yeah, it's very similar. And the cool thing is, it's because it isn't magic, you actually get to watch her be like, she notices all these things. And so it's kind of fun. But yeah, it's very much like that. Yeah.
And are there recipes in the book?
Yes. In fact, I have a recipe team, and we develop the recipes. And I have like, the recipes are kind of the big deal. Like at some point in the book, she usually walks you through doing the recipe of whatever it is she was cooking or she was baking. And so because I actually make all the recipes myself, because I like to bake. And so the recipes are definitely a big part of that.
That sounds like it could be a YouTube show.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, I should give you the link to the YouTube channel. So we have a reviewer who reviews every time she reviews one of my books, and she does this for everybody. She makes the recipe in the back and makes a YouTube video from the recipe. I'll send you the link so you can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll totally put it in the description.
It's awesome.
Nice. So let's talk about, so now that you're in this cozy market, and I'm so interested in this because I love cozies, how is that different than the romance industry?
I mean, I would say the interesting thing about what it's like lately is that it's very similar, because a lot of the people have crossed over. So like a lot of what feels like it happened a few years ago was that a lot of romance people started writing cozies. And then they brought some of their fans with them. So now there are a lot of romance writers and romance fans then subsequently, which is interestingly a fight that happens fairly often among cozy mystery fans now is, okay, is this a traditional cozy or is it like chick lit cozy? Because they kind of have this frustration with how much relationship ends up in the cozy mysteries, but then there's this massive audience of like romance fans who really want all that relationship in the cozy. So it's an interesting kind of amalgamation right now. And I would say industry wise, just as an indie, it's pretty much the same. I mean, it's large, like it's very diverse, and it's diverse in the sense that there's a lot of different subgenres that aren't necessarily classified by Amazon. So like, there's just a huge breadth of different stuff that's out there.
Cool. Yeah, I have a friend, and she used to write women's fiction, and then she switched over to cozies, and she said nobody ever really came up to her or knew her. And now that she writes cozies, people are always like, "Oh my God, I read your book, and I love this character." And she said that never happened before.
Yeah, the cozy fans I have found to be super rabid. Very similar, I think, to paranormal romance fans, where it's like when they find an author that they really like, they want to follow them. Like they want to be part of your writing experience, and like they want to be real fans, almost like the not fanatics in a bad sense, but like almost the fanatic sense where the word comes from, where they want to like know stuff about you and follow you and like get more personal, I think, which is really fun if you like community, because I feel like there's a lot of community among the fans, which is different than romance, where I feel like there's a ton of community among the authors. And then it's kind of like some people have fan communities and some people don't, but man, everybody I know who's a cozy author has like mega community with their fans.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, how close-knit are the actual authors? Is it the same as romance where they're all besties with each other?
I mean, I would say it's somewhat similar, but again, like my experience is so much from coming over from romance, the people that I knew who were writing romance, who are now writing cozy, like I'm connected with some of them, and then also connected with some cozy authors who were not romance people. So I would say my experience has been community, but that may also be partly because of the group that I got connected to. But it's not like romance writers in the sense of like Mystery Writers of America, and or if you are in like cozy and you're doing what's it called, the one that's in DC that does the Agathas. I'll think of it and I'll send you a link.
Sisters in Crime?
No, it might be Sisters in Crime. They're the the name's gonna slip me, but they're not quite as close knit as of a community as RWA is, like the Romance Writers of America community. Just because RWA I think has been so intentional about being that way, but that hasn't been my experience yet. But I also haven't been to conferences for MWA the way I was for RWA, so we'll see.
Got it. So why don't you tell us, you said you're right in the middle, half and half between a new Vangie Vale and a secret project. So what's on the schedule for the rest of the year?
A lot of teaching. I mean,
Teaching.
that's part of why I am not writing quite as much right now, is because I'm teaching almost every month, I think, for the rest of the year, this Write Better Faster stuff.
Oh my God, your fans are like, no.
They probably will. And I will say, my plan is still to put the same number of Vangie books out. I won't be putting out any of the Becca Boyd books probably, but my plan is still to put out 3 Vangie books this year. But so I would say then we released one in January, so there's going to be one coming out either August or September probably, and then one right at Christmas, I'm hoping, which is probably going to be the green one.
Got it.
Christmas.
So is that the normal schedule usually for indie cozies, 3 per year?
I would say 4 is more common. It depends on who you are. Like people who are trying to write for the KU market are probably going to put them out a little quicker. But even then, they don't have to be the sort of every 30-day model the way that a lot of places are. You will get better traction if you do that, but the fans also definitely expect the mystery to be significant. Like they want the mystery to be complicated. They want to not be able to figure it out. And so the people who are doing better in cozy are definitely the people who are writing the books that are more engaging and that are more complex than like the sort of Like it's much, much harder to write super short cozies and get traction, because then it feels like, but I knew what was going to happen from the beginning. If the fans are so into like solving the puzzle.
And so are those 70,000 or an 80, or what's the standard?
Yeah, I would say somewhere between 60 and 75 is probably the standard. I write a little bit longer than that. I tend to write more, like I would say in the complexity level, I have a lot more red herrings than probably your average short cozy, which like the 55, 60 area cozy. I have more red herrings, and so my plots end up being a little longer. Mine are more around 80, 85 probably. My first one was 100. Don't tell anybody that. But but the subsequent ones have all been right around 85.
Wow, those are long.
Yeah, they're long.
All right. Are you ready for the speed round?
Yeah.
All right. So Android or iPhone?
Ooh, iPhone.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Ice cream or frozen yogurt?
Oh, Lord. Ice cream.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Cool. Awesome. So if you guys want to find Vangie Vale Mysteries, you can go to rlsyme.com, right?
Mm-hmm.